The season is finally over. What an emotional roller coaster that last game was against Betis. Toni Kroos is truly a Real Madrid legend in every sense of the word. I'm really worried about what our build-up play will look like next season without him. Carlo has been able to sustain his so-called disorganized system because he has been the organizer. But turning to the Champions League final next Saturday, we're the heavy favorites. But the question is it justified? Dortmund currently sits 5th with 7 defeats this season in the Bundesliga. But we've seen teams that are performing poorly in the league in the past do well in Europe. In the 1999-2000 season, when Real Madrid had Guti, Steve McManaman, Roberto Carlos, and the Raul era, we finished 5th in La Liga, but we won the Champions League beating Valencia 3-0 in Paris at the Stade de France Stadium. Quick side note, did you know that Kroos won his first Champions League trophy with Bayern Munich against Dortmund in Wembley after an 89th minute winner by Arjen Robben? In terms of personnel for this match, Aurélien Tchouameni is ruled out, which undoubtedly will bring Camavinga into the starting lineup. This will probably be the starting lineup against Dortmund next Saturday. With a lot of defensive responsibility given to both Jude Bellingham and Federico Valverde. But the big new obvious change is Courtois coming into the starting lineup, which addresses a defensive deficiency we've had throughout the season, which is our poor defending from corner kicks. And everyone knows how strong Dortmund are from set pieces. So having Courtois starting and in good form will be truly a big boost to the team. This season it just felt like every corner kick felt like a penalty against us. Of course we conceded against Barcelona in the El Clasico when Lunin didn't command his box, which is reminiscent of the goal we conceded in La Decima against Atleti where Casillas didn't clear that ball. And obviously we had to wait to the almost the 93rd minute to equalize and eventually win. So being strong from corner kicks is going to be critical in this game. This game could be won as much as it could be lost by a mistake, and no one knows that better than Carlo Ancelotti. The last time a Champions League final had more than 3 goals was all the way back to 2018.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.
When we clapped Liverpool after Bale scored that double off the bench. Just looking at the last 4 Champions League finals, they all ended in 1-0. Manchester City against Inter Milan, 1-0. Real Madrid against Liverpool, 1-0. Chelsea against Manchester City, 1-0. Bayern Munich against PSG, 1-0. So the last 4 years, we've seen a 1-0 scoreline in the Champions League final. This clearly indicates a pattern where the teams that win the final typically do so with such a fine margin. Knowing Carlo Ancelotti as well as I do, I'm very sure when I say that he'll take on a very pragmatic approach in this match that doesn't take on too much risk. When looking at Dortmund, they kept 6 clean sheets this Champions League campaign. They finished first in the group of death, conceding only 4 goals in that group stage. Considering the talent on display in the squads that were in Dortmund's group, it's incredibly impressive to concede only 4 goals in that group. On their way to the final, they beat PSV, which is arguably the easiest team to defeat in that whole knockout stage. Everyone wanted PSV, but you can only beat what's in front of you. But when they beat Atletico Madrid, we knew we had to take them seriously. Everyone expected Diego Simeone's squad to beat Dortmund, but they proved to be a serious contender. Obviously, their most impressive win was against PSG, winning both legs, but also keeping a clean sheet in both legs. But let's not forget, the post was really their friend in that tie. I mean, I don't know the number of times PSG hit the post. It just felt like every time they got close, they hit the post and they hit it again and they hit it again. So them keeping a clean sheet, yes, it sounds good on paper, but if we're being honest, they should have conceded at least 2 or 3 goals in that tie. It just seems like PSG had no luck in that tie. But let's not take any credit away from Dortmund. They defended very well. And another quick side note, Borussia Dortmund beat Bayern Munich in the last time they faced each other. Dortmund won 2-0. They kept a clean sheet against Bayern Munich. And I don't know how many teams are really keeping a clean sheet against that Bayern team, because going forward, they're very strong. Bayern's problem this season has been defensively, not scoring goals. So the fact that they were able to beat Bayern Munich and keep a clean sheet, I think is very impressive. To be fair, we should have kept a clean sheet against Bayern Munich in the second leg. They had only an XG of 0.39 in that second leg at the Bernabeu. I'm not sure how Alphonso Davies scored that chance. It was honestly absurd, and he'll never score another goal like that for the rest of his career. Now, when looking at the two games we lost this season, they were both against Atletico Madrid, a team that sat deep and didn't give us much space. The first defeat was in La Liga, where Carlo Ancelotti tried to essentially play with 5 midfielders. And of course, we had a lot of absences. In the Copa del Rey, we lost 4-2, but to be fair, it wasn't Lunen's best performance. I mean, essentially, they scored 2 goals from 2 Lunen mistakes in that game. But one of the things that I noticed from that Copa del Rey match where we lost to Atletico Madrid is we really struggled to manage their counterattacks. That's an area where Borussia Dortmund are very strong, so we'll need to really contain them when they're in transition. And the other thing is we really struggled to break them down because we didn't have a number 9. They allowed us to have the ball, but when it came to their final third, we struggled to have any decisive opportunities. And also Griezmann was having the game of his life. Dortmund does have some quality players like Jadon Sancho, players like Marco Reus and others who on their day they can be really decisive, but we've also faced Sane, we've also faced Musiala, we've faced other world-class quality players. You know, the thing is, styles make fights. I just remember back in the day when Manny Pacquiao was in his prime, just to make a boxing analogy, he was going through everybody. He was beating Margarito, he's beating Cotto, he was beating all of these fighters. But then he goes up against Juan Manuel Marquez, a guy who had no chance, who was not supposed to be even competitive with Pacquiao. Before the fight, it was minus 800, and then Manny Pacquiao ended up getting knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez. He just had Manny Pacquiao's timing down. And that's the whole point of styles make fights. It's not necessarily about being the strongest team. Like we just saw Bayer Leverkusen lose to Atlanta. It's because Atlanta's press was just so much for Bayer Leverkusen to overcome. Now, I'm not saying Dortmund is the team that's going to come and beat Real Madrid and we should be afraid, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying is they seem to have a lot of characteristics of the teams we struggled with this season. And we should be cautious and careful in how we approach this match. This isn't going to be the type of game where we come in and win 4-0 and walk all over them. I don't think so. I think this is going to be the type of game where you have to minimize mistakes, you have to take advantage of your opportunities, and you have to manage their transition opportunities. Like I said earlier in this video, many of the Champions League finals ended with a 1-goal margin, and we were seconds away from losing to an underdog in La Decima against Atletico Madrid. If we make a poor mistake early on in the game and open ourselves up to their counterattacks throughout that match, that scenario could favor them. Leipzig gave us a scare this season, so we cannot underestimate any opponent. But also, to be fair, would Dortmund really be in the final if they were on our side of the bracket? If they had to face City, if they had to face Bayern, if they faced all of these quality teams, they probably wouldn't even make it to the final. But when it comes to one game, anything can happen. Adedemi, Sancho, Brandt, Marco Reus. These are players that can kill you on their day. I expect us to have more of the ball, and we'll need to be very strong defensively in the wings. So we'll need really a strong performance from Dani Carvajal, Ferland Mendy, with a lot of defensive cover from players like Valverde, players like Camavinga, to make sure that across the wing there's protection and they're not able to just run in through those positions, attack our fullbacks. But am I worried about Borussia Dortmund? To be honest, no, I'm not. Would I trade Borussia Dortmund for another club at this point? If somebody came to me and said, hey, you know, you can have another club other than Borussia Dortmund, I'll keep Borussia Dortmund. I'm happy with that. It's a final for us. I feel very confident that we'll get the job done in London next week. But let me know, how are you guys feeling? Do you think this is going to be a decisive victory? Am I one of those people that overthinks and maybe we shouldn't take on such a cautious approach and we should try to go in there and try to kill them? Or do you guys believe what I believe, which is we should be very compact, we should be very strong defensively, and we should nullify them along the wings, and you're feeling very confident about our chances to get our 15th Champions League? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be dropping another video closer to the final, so make sure you stay tuned to that. Thank you for watching.